You can do alternate oil pulling and the herbal decoction. So that will be more beneficial.
So Ajinda's teenage son suffers from a lot of bloatedness and smelly wind all day long, making him feel embarrassed. So wind, so he
The first question, if he's eating bars of chocolates, teenagers love sugar. So, yeah.
Mother of a teenage son talking from experience.
No, I don't have that problem, thank God. But
yeah, I mean, teenagers have a very strong appetite. So it could be that he's overeating, but it could be that he's eating the wrong foods. And like a lot of pulses or a lot of greens might promote the bloatedness and the wind. And maybe use vata churna on his food in the cooking, the spices that will easily reduce the vata. And
yeah, if she's open to that. Otherwise, we have I will type that. We have hingvashtak churna, and just mix it with a bit of honey and ask him to suck on it. It's not too bad. Or just take it with the food. The hingvashtak churna take the winds away quickly. I'm going to type that. Do you agree, Dr. Brennan?
Oh gosh, I was reading the next one, Raj. So I missed it.
No, just take it with very tiny with the food, in between the food. It's very good for bloating though. I don't know if the teenagers are sometimes not open to vata churna and spices, but it's up to the mom how artistic creative she will be the cooking, and he wouldn't even notice. Yeah. So
I wonder if his elimination is good. Because
so there's a lot of things to consider here.
Yeah, and then I think the Digest Plus might be a tablet that might help. My goodness, now they're getting going with
the simple thing is give him some fresh pomegranate. They're in the season and they will look after the digestion. Just give him pomegranate fruit for 2-3 days, and I think it will pick up help with that wind. And if you can juice it or just eat it.
Okay. So Don, are we happy to go ahead and play the video?
Happy as the day's long, Noel.
Okay. And I'll share the screen. I'll stop recording.
Noel Redvinder is still muted, so we'll rely on Noel to unmute Redvinder in a second. I'll just answer some of the questions that came in. Something for chronic rhinitis. Chronic rhinitis is likely a kapha problem, and therefore it's likely that the balance of kapha is required. Again, it can be helpful, the spices in food, black pepper, cinnamon, ginger, garlic. And it may be worthwhile trying the nasal drops, the MA735. But a lot of these conditions are, quite personal, and we'd be better off having an individualized consultation to give a really good answer. Catherine, cyclical vomiting syndrome, and that's an interesting one, and certainly I think Ayurveda would be worth consideration here, because it's definitely to do with the digestive system, and as you see, digestion is a huge science within Ayurveda. It's also quite likely a lot of vata, because it's often provoked by stress or by the menstrual period, or vata provocation seems to bring it on for many people, but it's also it could be pitta, because it's also considered a variant of migraine, and for some children they actually grow from that into a migraine type problem as they grow up. So Andrea, cold hands and feet despite the lovely warming spices. Well, thanks for trying that tip. That was worth doing, because strengthening the digestion is the core fire which can heat the body. But vata is cold hands, cold feet, and so the daily oil massage and all the strategies for balancing vata that will come in the next lecture will be interesting. Redvinder, there were three questions there about cooking that I'm just going to tell you about and ask you to think about them, and I'll come back for your answers when you've had time to think. And I just
Okay.
answer one or two other questions here.
Sure. What are they?
Penelope wanted to know the spice chewed for excessive wind. She didn't catch that one, but you said that's good for wind. And Anya and Nick Erka, whole spice seeds are better to grind them, whether to use the spices whole or grind. So that's an interesting one. And Annabella said that the cookbooks often says cook the spices first and add the ingredients then to the cooked spices when you're cooking. Or she was thinking that there might be more benefits to cook the spices separately and add the personalize.
Okay.
So adding the spices last then to sort of personalize the dish. So those were the questions. I'll come back and ask you again, but just to give
Sure.
you
Yeah.
what is the cause of IBS, Manjuri? What is the remedy? And there was a good answer from GV, but what Ayurveda would add in there, that irritable bowel syndrome, well, it's definitely a situation where the digestion has to be strengthened, and we're so abusive of our digestive system without even being aware of it, that often the curing of IBS is simple enough with proper digestive strategies. There is a condition in Ayurveda called Grahini, where the digestion is that bit weak and it doesn't hold food, so food rushes through and there can be diarrhea. But often there's an alternating diarrhea, bloating, wind. Often there are Vata symptoms, so it's a matter of also balancing the doshas as well as strengthening digestion. And Paul Campbell made a lovely comment about the autumn equinox. Thank you, Paul. It's fascinating. Today at 2:31 p.m. Irish time, the sun was directly over the equator, and the sun is setting in due west at 7:33 here in Mayo, where I am staycationing at the moment. Hey, Raj, will I bring you in with that before we go on to the next questions about that cooking with spices raw?
Yeah, that's okay. I am happy to answer. It was Hingvashtak Churna. I have typed in the chat box, and you just take as a doctor, probably not in the winter, but in the summer, and still now you take lassi and put pinch of Hingvashtak Churna into it. That's a good kind of carrier for it. Or just put into a little bit of water and a little bit of lemon. So you kind of sip it a little bit with your food, because it could be very strong as well. So start with a very small amount. That's good to stimulate the digestive enzymes and help with the digestion, and it's a good pacifier for Vata. And the spices, Dr. Karen, she's talking about, like, nowadays people don't have much time for cooking, so it's just a quick way. You steam your vegetable and you cook your spices and pour it over, because we do have like a spice mixture like Vata Churna, Pitta Churna, things like that. But of course, yeah, you traditionally you cook the spices in the ghee or the oil for the spices to have release their effect into the fat, and then you add your dal or vegetables on it, and then cooking that way is better. If you don't mind eating the whole, like coriander seeds or fennel seeds, cumin normally we cook whole anyway, so it's fine. You cook it whole. But when you kind of toast it and then you powder it, if you can powder on the time when you're cooking, that's actually very powerful. It releases smell, and because when you powder the spices and you store them, normally they get oxidized, and then there are certain kind of effects from using these oxidized spices, especially when we buy from the supermarket and they're on the shelf from 3 months and 6 months like that, so they're quite oxidized, so you don't get the benefit of it. So if you have the luxury, you have the time that you can roast and grind them as you're cooking, that's the brilliant, that's what is suggested. But if you are short of time, then yeah, you use the powder spices. Like in the family members, like somebody said, add the spices as you personalize. For that purpose, I would say you have a basic spice mixture that is good for everybody, and then at the end you top up with maybe a little bit of black pepper or salt or maybe cayenne pepper, just to personalize it. But it's better to cook the cumin or fennel or turmeric. Turmeric is better to be cooked rather than to be added raw at the end or something like that. So I hope I have answered the question.
Wonderful, thanks, Raj.
No problem.
I'd like to just talk a little bit about the milk and the ghee there that came up, because there are vegans who are now distressed because they're not taking milk
Yeah, sure.
or ghee. Well, in fact, Ayurveda sees milk as a really important food, very nourishing to all the tissues. But a lot of problems that happens with the milk are because of the variety of milk we take today, which comes out of farms that are, more like factory farms. And what you feed the cow and how you treat the cow is going to go into the milk. There's also an issue with A1 and A2 milk, because there's antioxidant in the body. The A1 milk is what we normally get in the factory farms in our part of the world, and that beta casein A1 type, it doesn't seem to be healthy. A fragment of it is called BCM7, and this slows digestion. It causes inflammation, bloating, gas, abdominal pain, diarrhea, and constipation. Obviously, for some people more than another. And so the milk that comes from Jersey cows, Guernsey cows, from cows in Africa and Asia seem to be healthier in that regard, having the A2 variety of that protein. And another thing about milk is that Ayurveda would say it should be boiled. Otherwise, it's very hard to digest. And there's another issue. If you homogenize milk, you break down the fats into very, very small particles. And those small particles actually can contribute to damaging effects of milk, because there's an enzyme in the milk which would normally be broken down by digestion. But when the fat has been broken down by homogenization to tiny little globules, it surrounds this enzyme, which actually then is absorbed and is released in the blood, and that damages the lining of the blood vessels, and that will contribute to the heart attacks and strokes eventually. But the problem is that the homogenization is done so that there's not cream sitting on top of your milk, and probably promotes shelf life or something. So those are specific problems with milk. In terms of the spices used, cinnamon used in the hot milk drink will help to digest carbohydrates, and cardamom will help to digest protein. And you heard about adding turmeric to the milk, its benefits for your beauty and so forth. It also prevents the milk being too congesting. So maybe before going on to ghee, we'll hand over to Raj again to answer some questions.
But if you're vegan and for ethical reasons or your own belief, you don't want to have dairy, that's absolutely fine. But we are talking here the benefits of traditional Ayurveda that was established like 5000 BC, and milk is a very sattvic food. But of course, we are aware now it is pasteurized, now it is homogenized. So homogenization would have kind of impact on the diet, how you digest the milk and all of that. So sometimes, yeah, of course, you have to avoid it. So as a vegan, you try to balance the healthy fats in your diet. So for example, of course, the alternate to ghee or milk is the coconut milk, and coconut is the closest one really, because of the flesh and the coconut and all. It wouldn't be as, if you look at the health benefit and all, not really ghee. They both have different properties. They both have totally different kind of qualities, how they process in the body. But yeah, because somebody said this isn't helping us as vegans, I understand where are you coming from. So then you just try to have a variety of fats. There's so many different sorts of fats now, flax seeds and oil and black seed oil and things like that. So plenty of the healthy fats try to have. If you're Vata, then you definitely need to top up on that. And I'm just going to take one more question, and Somebody is a bit confused about their dosha. Just let me get the name if I can find it. Ramona. Ramona is asking, she seems to be number 7 pitta, like score 7 pitta, 5 vata, and 3 kapha. So she's a bit confused. Should she bring her kapha 3 to 7 or bring the pitta 7 to 3? No, Ramona, you actually have answered the question anyway. You're saying when we speak of balance, am I trying to get all 3 at the same level? No, you're not trying to do that. Or am I always trying to maintain the pitta where it is and not let it get spiked or drop? Yes, exactly. You are maintaining it where you have, if you have 7 and you're happy and healthy, yeah, definitely you are a pitta vata person, because 7 is your dominant and then 5 is your, number 5 is your vata. So you will be considered a pitta vata person, and your pitta vata is the balance ratio. Like you have a good mind and your digestion is good, elimination is good, you're happy, healthy, no issue going on. Then you maintain it. Yeah, that's the challenge, to keep it at the level where it is. Not let it spike, like a little spike, 7.5, 8 is an issue, or even a little drop is a problem. So that's what you're maintaining through your diet and through your lifestyle. So if you said you're not supposed to wear red color, it's not really a kind of a hard and fast rule that you can't wear red color. If you like red color, definitely you try, but it's just like you don't overdo the red stimulating color, because if you have a little bit of anxiety at the pitta due to some issue, too much work or anything, that irritates your mind. That's just a color therapy, but it's not like you should totally avoid it. You use that in moderation. Okay.
Okay. There was a question there about ghee, particularly in relation to cholesterol. And it's interesting to note that ghee contains 65% saturated fat, but mainly, the saturated fats in ghee are short-chain fatty acids. And short-chain fatty acids will be processed by the liver and burnt as energy, rather than passing into fat tissues, and don't contribute then to weight gain. So 65% are mostly these short-chain fatty acids. 25% are monounsaturated fats, which are actually good, and 5% are polyunsaturated fats, which are also very good. An interesting thing is that the short-chain fatty acids, and in particular butyric acid, they provide the cells of your colon with energy. And so 70% of the total energy needs of the colon can be provided by this butyric acid in the ghee. And it contributes then to decreasing the inflammation of the gut, heals the leaky gut, and creates a very fertile environment for beneficial bacteria to thrive. Now, another thing ghee contains is conjugated linoleic acid, and that helps to prevent inflammation in the artery wall and the hardening of the arteries. So, and in ancient times, the Vaidya's maintained that children who grew up eating ghee would be more intelligent, and women would end up more fertile. So, yeah, it's very good for pitta and vata. So Ayurveda would say kaphas should use ghee quite in moderation, but pittas and vatas it would be good for. And there was a question, I suppose if your cholesterol was borderline, I'd feel easy about taking the ghee because it has qualities that can actually help to reduce bad cholesterol. But if your cholesterol is way up, then there are saturated fats there, so I wouldn't go for it. There was another question about equal ghee and honey by weight. That's considered very bad in Ayurveda. They just don't combine as a food, so never equal quantities of ghee and honey by weight. So, okay, going back to other questions. Margot, do you need to boil milk before tea or coffee? Well, I suppose ideally if it was raw milk, I would. But if it's pasteurized milk, probably the heat of the tea or the coffee will be sufficient and you don't need to heat it then. And when we say milk, we're talking, Thomas Kelly, as you asked the question about cow's milk. And those are all the questions that I have. Food cooked, fresh and frozen at home, Linda. It's not ideal, but it's second best because you're very busy and you want to preheat, you want to heat frozen foods that you prepared at home. When you're reheating, Ayurveda would say add a little ghee and it'll preserve some of the freshness of the food. If you have to eat frozen foods, that's the way to reheat them. Now, I've caught up with all the questions before the tapes finish. Anything there, Raj, you want to pick up on?
I was answering some other question. Wait a second. Colette is saying, I am Vata according to Dr. Brannan, and I like to eat raw food like salad for evening meals. So what can I do to remedy that? Maybe drink more water. You are probably dehydrated and you are craving that raw crunchiness from the salad. If it was summer, I would say, yeah, okay, you might get away with it. But now you are going into autumn, and if you're Vata, you don't want to be very sensitive for the autumn, as it will be full blown. As Ian said, is the equinox, and now the days are shorter and nights are longer. So you don't want to eat the cold in the evening because that might affect your sleep. But you may be a very balanced Vata, but still, if you are missing salad, I would say you kind of steam it, kind of gently steam, or maybe make it a little bit kind of warm if possible, or try to have small portion around your lunchtime with your warm meal and see if it goes. But definitely in the autumn time is the Vata time of the year, and if you are a strong Vata person, then the cold food is not really recommended according to Ayurveda. But yeah, you might be very strong Pitta as well, depends on your digestive system and all. But I would say try to drink more water and see if you hydrate yourself more and that craving goes away. How are I saying?
Somebody asked what was it that the A2 milk promotes? It's glutathione. It promotes the production of glutathione, which is a fantastic antioxidant used by the liver, particularly, not only to protect itself, but to detoxify things.
Yeah, funny enough, glutathione is used by a lot of practitioner nutrition people for leaky gut. So if A2 milk is already producing that, so you can see it is good for the gut.
Poor Janvi, how this isn't helping us poor vegans. We're just giving you what Ayurveda says. You could use almond milk. I mean, there's some good milk that you can easily make for yourself. If you make your own plant milks like that, they'll be much more alive than something you would buy in a shop. So I think it would be easy to get a recipe to make your own almond milk.
Depends on which one you like. Some people don't like almonds. Maybe Dr. Brannan likes almonds. So depends. Some people like oats milk. Some people like coconut milk. So yeah, if you're going for plant-based, yeah, go for that, satisfy you and give you, maybe go for variety.
Yeah, someone else is favoring oat milk here.
So Sarah is saying, how do I know what data, or maybe you mean Vata Pitta Kapha I am? There's a questionnaire on the website on ayurveda.ie. Maybe you start from there, and if it's too confusing, then try to get to know yourself a bit more. Go back to the lecture 1 and listen to it again, and you might be able to clarify what is your body type. Are you light body frame, or you're medium, or you're towards the heavy build? So that those are the basics to start with. But I would say start with the questionnaire. Or Dr. Brannan has a very kind of a simple book. It's on the website. That's very, very simply written to simplify the Vata Pitta Kapha. So I think it's €8, €10 something. That will be a very kind of good thing to start from if you want to know about the Vata Pitta Kapha. So or go for a consultation.
Anya, for balancing and restoring thing for the activity that's provoked by these classes each night, specifically for her eyes, her nerves, and her brain due to the computer virtual screen. I'd suggest, because it is the screens, particularly because of the blue light, they suppress our melatonin. So it's not a great idea coming up to bedtime to be looking at the mobile phone, the television, or the computer screen, though you can get a software onto your computer that alters the blue light towards red from dusk.
It's normally free built in your laptop. You just have to go in the setting and turn the night mode on. So sometimes it's free there, or you just download. It's a free app, and it's turned that. Or in your setting, you just slow down the brightness of the screen as well. So that some simple tips. Or there are some blue light blockage glasses as well. So there are lots of different things you can do. Or for the Vata, I think I see Anya there. She looks a bit of a Vata person. So sit with the cup of golden milk or Vata tea or Vata herbal tea. Then, yeah, she's showing the cup, so you're already sitting with it.
Then after that, before bed, do a set of yoga asanas. That will calm and settle you for sleep as well.
Yeah, do the Brahmari, humming bee, pranayama, and some yoga asanas, yeah.
And David Cornish asked how much turmeric should he put in his golden milk. So as much as tastes yummy.
No, and put the whole cup in. only a quarter, not more than a quarter teaspoon. It's bitter.
Right.
It's bitter. 1/8 to a quarter teaspoon.
Coming back to Colette with her Vata type eating salads, just dunk one Vaidya. My mentor said, well, if you have to eat a salad, then at least just dunk the lettuce leaves into boiled water, and that'll give it some fire so you'll be able to digest it. But it's a shame, not for the evening meal, because things that are in the evening should be easy to digest. Honey and ghee equal by weight, is it okay? No, not good. What should a kapha person drink before tea? Maybe a chamomile tea or a drink like that would be calming, herbal brew that's calming for sleep.
Oh, take it easy, or the good night sleep tea is very good. It has kind of wonderful spices. Kapha tea is very nice. Or there are good selection of teas on the website. Meda tea is good. Good night tea probably is nice for everyone if sleep is an issue.
Racine, what about cooking meat with milk?
No milk into animal. No, that's a very kind of it comes under incompatible combination. So milk should never be mixed with the salt. So yeah, milk and fish never go together, and milk and salt never go together. So avoid it. It comes under the incompatible food combination. So that's the one that is very much highlighted in the text.
What time of the day should one eat fruit? During daylight hours. Actually, it's never eaten after dark, because it's more difficult to digest than in the evening, and the digestion is not at its strongest. Yes, steamed or stewed is going to help digestion of fruit, so that's nice.
Yeah.
And what helps eyesight? Triphala.
Amla berry, MA1. MA1 is a formulation. Amla berry. Amla is very good for eyes. So Triphala eye wash is good if you have any eye problem. Dissolving gallstones. Maybe you answer and I add into that.
I think that's a difficult one. I'm not sure that.
Yeah, it's a risky one. It depends on the size of the stone and all. Sometimes they start moving and they're stuck on the path, and that's an emergency situation. So you really, but the quality, there is I will type in the I think I have it. I'll show you. The quality lentils are very good. So you can make the soup or the water from these lentils. They are perfect for dissolving stones and all that. So I spell it right. I'm going to type it here.
And John Shields had a consultation with me 28 years ago. Great, John. I hope that last 28 years have been a great benefit from that consultation. Now you feel it's time for another one. Well, I look forward to seeing you again. Helen, for a 3 dosha type, what's the best thing to strengthen digestion, please? Ginger. Ginger is Maha Aushita, the greatest medicine, because it's the best thing for digestion. And so that's what I would suggest. What about lactose-free milk? Well, certainly a lot of the problems people suffer with milk can be due to not having it boiled or not having it with spices or taking it mixed with other foods or having a poor quality milk to start with. But I don't like when people start interfering with the natural product, you know, and extracting and adding. So I'd be doubtful about the lactose-free milk. If industry would just give us foods as our grandparents had it, we'd be a lot healthier, I think. What about fish in the diet? Well, fish, I remember one Vajali said, well, fish. And what he was saying was that it's going to be exciting to Vata. But we recognize nowadays that fish is a very good source of protein. And there's a lot of research suggesting that the pescatarian diet is a good one, with a little fish added into the vegetarian diet. So I would just say you better eat it in the middle of the day. You better be careful that you don't go for deep sea fishes like tuna, which pick up mercury from the bottom of the ocean where it has sunk from all the pollution we've had of mercury in our atmosphere. So make sure you get a fish that is maybe twice a week is a good limit to it, but in the middle of the day I would eat it. Great, Ian Middleton has kindly put in the screen color warmer settings display in Windows 10. Thanks for that, Ian. You're a font of information, you are. Thanks.
Who was asking about it? Yeah, or somebody asked, they don't know Kulati. This is the Kulati horse gram is another name of it. Manja, okay. Yeah, Manja, this is the horse gram. It looks like the, looks like the green lentil, but it will be a little bit harder to cook. So normally you soak it overnight into the water and you strain it and drink that water. Then you do that maybe 3 times, and then 4th time you cook it into a soup or a stew. So that way, yeah, so small amount really. Let me check any. Tripla eye wash help my Maltese dog VPIs. Thanks, Roberta. Yeah, that's great, Roberta. Very happy. And that it was very good for the dog even. And she was
Mayuri asked, can blue light of computer affect your sleep? Definitely. They did research on students and let them play with their phone before bed. And it not only affected the getting off the sleep and that, but the actual quality of sleep is disturbed. And the reason is the melatonin, which is the sleep hormone, is suppressed by the blue light.
Patrick said, just turn the night mode on, much better. Yes, great.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's very good for the seasonal affective disorder, especially in the winter. People feel depressed and all that. So definitely for them, the blue light is very much effective. So night mode on and protect your eyes from all these lights and all that, because in the winter people do have this seasonal affective disorder and all of that. So that's very much connected to the blue light and all.
And Flux Leonard points out, Flux is the app to control and change screen color.
I don't know, I can't understand the question. Palmer said, please call you, can you type the recommendation? I did that.
And Ian Middleton, yeah, thanks Ian. What about salt lassi? Salt lassi is good for digestion, isn't it, Raj?
Salt lassi is what, sorry?
Good for digestion.
Yeah, absolutely. You can make it sweet and salt. Salt is good for digestion, more favorable for kapha and vata, and sweet lassi is more for pitta. Yeah, so both are good, but yeah, very good for digestion. Yeah.
Lovely. And Colette is coming back to us. She has her hot main meal in the middle of the day. Good for you, Colette. And she takes something light in the evening. And then she says, like, she goes for a salad. But a salad is not light in the sense of being easy to digest. That's what we're after. Raw food's harder to digest.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah.
Go ahead, right?
Ian is saying, I got that question now. Salty lassi. He means what is then salt in because I said the milk and salt should never be mixed. So then he's saying, what about the salt in the lassi? That is an exception. Lassi is more of a fermented, and so then the property of the milk in the lassi change. So that's advisable. That's okay. But in the incompatible food list, if you check, the milk and salt is a wrong combination. So that's the property of the milk. As a milk is different, but when milk is fermented and become yogurt or lassi, the properties change. So then the sour and salt go together. It's just the milk is sweet after the digestive effect of milk is sour. So it is a long explanation of the food is not only that taste on your tongue, and that is the first effect of the food, and then there is an after digestion effect, and then the post digestion effect of the food. So it goes in that. So I maybe at some other time, this is called vipaka, this is called prabhava. So that has a different effect of the food after the digestion. So in that category, the milk and salt doesn't go together. And especially when you're cooking a fish with the milk and the salt, then that is not recommended at all.
There's a question about watery eyes, but often watery eyes are a reaction to a dry eye, which is more vata, and therefore settling of vata is necessary. But adding a little bit more oils to your diet maybe might help. The triphala may help. And there's a treatment, but it's done more by Raj, which is an eye treatment with you for dry eyes, which would be very good.
Yeah, just start with just put a little triphala powder into a little bit of water and start washing with it, and that will help. But dry eyes could be associated to a lot, and the VPI could be a lot of different reasons. Sometimes if it's an ongoing issue, it could be a blockage in the tear duct or something like that. So it depends. You need to know that detail about it. So, but yeah, the triphala will help for sure, and some ghee into the eyes when you go out in the wind.
And there's a question.
What is seafood powder? No, seafood powder will be a different thing. That's a natural salt. That I don't know in what relation you're saying about seafood chowder. I don't know. Do you know that? Maybe the chowder is the wrong spelling. I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with chowder.
Ionized water. Tap water is high in chemicals, and therefore it would be wise for everybody to go filter their water or to buy pure water for drinking. And a question about celiac disease, just to avoid gluten, Paula, and definitely if you're a Pitta Vata person, just learn how to balance your Vata and Pitta, which is the next couple of talks in this course.
Chowder is a fish soup with cream. I know some tradition do cook, but especially the leukoderma, the white patches on the skin, is very much associated with the fish and the milk together. So you can find coconut milk, so maybe you can make that with the coconut milk if you like that dish so much.
Yeah, Deborah, the fruit after lunch would be, the fruit before lunch would be better than in the evening.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks, Enya.
So we've gone over our time actually, you know. So we're at 9:05. Okay, everybody. So that's great. A lot of information there given tonight. So we'll be meeting up again. Yeah, Ian, I'm back. Yeah, we'll be meeting up again on Thursday at 7:30 on Thursday, you know. So I'll put this up. I've recorded this. So for anyone that's missed it, I'll put it up on our YouTube channel so you can watch it tomorrow. I'm not sure if the
just sorry not to cut you because there's a lot of question on milk, and the Dr. Vasant Lad, you can Google it and you look for his incompatible food list. That might throw some light on some other incompatible food combination. So Dr. Basant Lad. So I think the list is available on the Google.
Okay, so I'm going to call it to an end. So thanks a million to our doctors. Thanks to Dr. Rajvinder and Dr. Brennan. Dr. Naheed hopefully will be back with us on Thursday. And I'll send the link out. If you haven't got it by Thursday at 1 o'clock, just give me a ring and I'll send it to you. And
yeah, stay warm. It's cold.
Yeah. Okay. All right, everybody. Thanks a million. Thanks, Dr. Brennan. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.